Well, good morning, folks. In this Leading Your Best Life podcast, I'm going to be talking with an old friend, Aidan Montague, and we're going to talk very much about marketing and business and lead generation and some of his fantastic ideas. But Aidan, welcome to Leading Your Best Life.
Thanks, Leigh. Great to be here.
Now,
Thanks
Aidan,
for having me.
Mate, fantastic. Look, the beautiful thing is we reconnected after 20 years recently, which is just magnificent. So we'll tell people about that story. But let's go back, and Aidan Montague, tell us a bit about your background. Where have you come from? There is an accent there, I hear. I know you've had a fantastic corporate career and the great work you're doing now, consulting-wise and so on. But give us a bit of a nutshell on where did Aidan Montague evolve from?
Yeah, there is an accent. I came from a little country town about 20 miles from Belfast, and 20 miles from Belfast is like that is like 100 miles in Irish terms. It was a little country farmhouse, and I won't go into all the background, but it was like stepping back into another world, Leigh. And but of course, Ireland people would be aware of what they call the Troubles, and my dad was quite a wise man, and unlike myself, I guess, but he decided we got to get out of this place. A good name for a song, and we came to Melbourne in 1968, and a big Irish family came to Melbourne, and we're probably getting off topic, but my first weekend in Melbourne, I watched an AFL or VFL match back then, and it was St Kilda and Carlton. I became a St Kilda supporter, and I've not seen them win anything ever. But I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's where I came from.
Fantastic. Well, St Kilda had won a grand final, I think, in the early 60s. So you got there just a little bit late.
I got there a little bit. Yeah, they won the year before I arrived. Yes.
Oh, there you go. Well, hang on. Now we know why you have jinxed them all these years. That explains it. There's a lot of St Kilda people who just worked out what the problem is there.
Exactly.
We've actually got a guy called Ian Sirakowski who played in that grand final for St Kilda, who swims with us at North Cottesloe Surf Club every morning. Lovely fellow, lovely bloke. And in fact, literally one of the podcasts I did with a woman called Kat Porter, who's a fantastic swimmer, world champion in the swimming. He was so inspired by the podcast. He said, look, forget me going to the grand final this year using my St Kilda Life membership. I'm going to let you guys have the 2 tickets. And so Kat and Jody are going as guests of Syrah to this year's grand final as a result of doing one of these Leading Your Best Life podcasts. So how about that?
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Yes.
So St Kilda has lovely people. There's no doubt about it. You know,
they got lovely people. I just like to win something. It'd be nice to go along. I've actually been to a couple of very close games with St Kilda. One grand final, I think, 2 grand finals. But no, we never got there.
That's true, mate. That's true. But tell us now about your business background, Aidan, because you've had a very interesting and successful story there. So where did you start? Well, what did you study? I think you studied something first and then your career. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I studied engineering. I studied engineering in Melbourne. I actually qualified as an engineer and worked as a design engineer for some of the large companies. I worked for Rio Tinto, worked for Woodside, not for Woodside, but contractor to Woodside. Did some work down at Co-op in Jarrad, a lot of design engineering. But to be honest, I really wasn't cut out to be an engineer. I was okay, but it wasn't what I was good at. And one of my bosses sort of recognized that, and he said, Aidan, you're not a very good engineer, but you're probably a good salesman. so he set me off on the path to selling engineering solutions to engineers, and these were actually computer solutions, and that opened me up to the world of computing and computer communications, and it turned out I was pretty good at selling. And I mean, not as good as you, Leigh. I mean, you're the expert, but
oh, come on, mate. Flattery will get you every seat. The very fact that you're flattering me, that in itself is very clever. No, I think you're bloody brilliant, mate. Anyway, keep going.
I was okay at it, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just selling what I thought. I was telling the customer about the product and how it would solve his problem. And that was what I did. And I built relationships. And as time went by, I got proper sales training, and I found that helped a lot in sort of reinforcing some of the things that I was already doing naturally. Of course, there were some things I wasn't doing very well. I wasn't I probably wasn't closing as much as I should. I was sort of having the conversations, nurturing, building the relationships, but I wasn't asking for the business. So certainly formal sales training helped me a lot there. So I was actually pretty successful at selling, won quite a few awards, worked for lots of computer companies. So at this point, I'd made a transition from engineering to computing. I was selling initially to engineers, then I was selling large computer systems to large corporates. And as I say, won a few awards along the way. Thought I was pretty hot. Thought I knew what I was doing, and had no fear. No fear.
No fear. That's not a bad thing to have.
Yeah. Maybe it was being irresponsible, or maybe it was not knowing what I didn't know. But anyhow, as a result of that attitude, I was fortunate enough to be offered a position by a very small Silicon Valley company, and they were looking for someone to head up their sales and marketing operation in the southern region. That wasn't all of Australia, that was the southern region. They actually finished up offering the position to two of us. There were only two in the company in Australia, my boss, who I'd known previously, and myself. We were the only two people representing this company in Australia. And that company, that little company, little did I know it, but they went on to be the world's largest company from a husband and wife team.
My
and
goodness.
That was Cisco Systems.
Mate, yeah, fantastic.
Now they're no longer the world's largest company. They're probably in the top. They're certainly in the top 100. I think they're probably around the top 20 or maybe top 30. So they're up there. But that journey, that I was really, really fortunate. Well, I put myself in the right position to be offered the opportunity. So I give myself credit for that. But in terms of the experience I got, I learned so much. And we built a sales and marketing. I built a sales and marketing team in Southern Region. And we went on to become the most successful global subsidiary in Cisco.
Wow.
And as a result, Cisco sent me to London to run what they called the Internet Business Unit. Then for my sins, they sent me to Africa. And they always sent me to the areas where they thought they needed, some, I guess, relationship building, or there were some issues, something that they needed fixed. Went from around sub-Saharan Africa for Cisco. Then they sent me to Singapore. And I ran the telco division, actually strategic alliances for Cisco out of Singapore. Then back to Sydney. Very, very good career with Cisco. Learned a lot. But what I really learned was that the key to Cisco's success, whilst we had great salespeople, I actually give our team and myself more credit than perhaps we deserved, because the company was so well designed and so well positioned that we were able to attract the best people. So it was in simple terms, it was a hot product in a hot market. So good salespeople could sell the product very, very well. It didn't need superhuman salespeople. So what that taught me was the most important thing, in my view, in terms of success of a company, is how the company is designed and how the company is positioned. If the company is designed to succeed and designed to convert, rather than just attract traffic without getting into the jargon, if the company is very, very clear about what its purpose is, and the market is very clear, and it solves a critical problem for the market, in other words, it's well positioned, then good salespeople will do a fantastic job, and we will attract the best, not just the best salespeople, but the best people generally, and success breeds success. So that's the major lesson that I learned from Cisco. Whereas before I was chasing clients, I was chasing business rather than attracting. But with Cisco, we were attracting, and we weren't order taking, we were still solution selling, but the dynamic was very different, because the customer was coming, or the prospect was coming to us, and then we were talking the customer through how we could solve their problem, rather than us chasing the customer and trying to get an appointment, and you know where that leads. It's good salespeople can do it, but it's not the best way.
No. So as you say, mate, there's so much you've just talked about in there But as you say, the design and the positioning of the company and the company knowing its purpose. So coming back to that, let's just take the Cisco, with the husband and wife team sitting around the table to then being the world's biggest company. What was the purpose? What was the purpose that was being articulated there? And you as a leader, I suppose, articulating that.
Okay. Well, when I joined, the husband and wife team had just moved on. It had been taken over by not taken over, but a venture capital group, Sequoia Capital, who you would have heard of, put quite a bit of money into the business. But the initial purpose it was a very personal purpose. The husband and wife, I don't think they were married at that initially when the company started, but their purpose was to communicate with each other. They were at Stanford and they had one network and one department, another network and another department. And these networks didn't talk to each other. And they decided to write a piece of software to enable that network to talk, this network to talk to that network. And that became the initial Cisco product. And of course, it worked very, very well. It was very simple, probably complex computer code, but a simple concept. And word of mouth started to spread throughout the universities and then to Department of Defense. And this little product became a hot product in universities and defense. And Sequoia Capital, they were actually funding the business on their credit cards. Can you imagine?
Wow.
The world's largest company eventually. That was in the year 2000. It became the world's largest company, by the way, before the dot-com crash. But they were funding the business on their credit cards. And they went to Sequoia Capital and they asked for money. And the other important thing was the approach that Don Valentine took at Sequoia Capital. Don Valentine had this very interesting approach. When someone came to him for money, he didn't so much look at the entrepreneur, or the people so much. The question that he asked himself and his team was, have these people or has this person identified a major growth? Is this a large market? And is it a major growth market? If it is, then it's worthy of our funding. So rather than pursue the mantra of people, yes, people are important, but what is more critical, again, is how big is the market? Is it a growth market? And if it is, then we can help the people. We can mentor the people. We can get them there, but we have to make sure that this thing doesn't require superhuman people, because if it requires superhuman people working day and night, then that's a worry. That means there's something not right with this business. We want something that's almost got a life of its own. So that was Don Valentine's approach to sort of providing funding for businesses. He went on to fund Apple, many different Silicon Valley. He also had a lot of dogs in his time, but a lot of success stories.
Yeah, but it's a great example of the power of asking the right questions. As you say, strategic questions, asking the right questions. And is it a major growth market, in the sense that if it's not a major growth market, it's just going to be hard work, and life's too short to be involved in trying to push something uphill like that. So a beautiful strategic question. Tell me about your no fear. How did that evolve or manifest itself, or where do you think you got that from, and how did you use that no fear?
No fear. I think it's just something that I don't think I've ever really grown up, to be perfectly honest. The Irish are known for being a bit emotional and a little bit irresponsible is probably not the right word, but we will take risks, and I've always been a risk taker. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the right way to go, but not being stuck in engineering. Now, engineering is fantastic for people who love it. I didn't love it, but I stepped off I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I moved into a totally different environment that I was unfamiliar with. I wasn't sure if I could sell or not. In fact, I thought I probably couldn't. I thought, well, let's give it a go. So, and by stepping off into that sort of unknown, then good things started to happen. Now, it could have gone the other way. It could have gone absolutely pear-shaped, but then I could always have fallen back in engineering. So I don't regret those decisions.
Yep. And I think the fact that as an engineer, you could talk to engineers. I mean, engineers to a certain extent, I mean, it's generalizing, but we did a lot of work way back in the mid 80s with Telecom Australia, which of course was run by thousands of engineers. And engineers, actually they're trained a certain way, a certain, logical scientific brain enters engineering as a career. And so there's a language and a mindset and a thinking. And I think if you went in there as an engineer who with a bit of personality and a bit of, because not all engineers are outgoing, or they're often they can be quite introvert. I remember a time we were doing a workshop with Telecom Australia managers. I think they were managers. And we used juggling as a metaphor of the learning process, and stepping out of the comfort zone and being willing to persist and get them to coach each other. So it was a team exercise. And it's a frustrating exercise when you're learning to juggle, because the thing drops, and if you hate failure, you hate having to bend over and pick up this bag. And one morning this guy came, and he'd been up all night, and he had on A3 pieces of paper drawn these incredible parabolic arcs and all of these equations and formulas that he'd written, and he'd intellectualized juggling. And which was just, we'd never seen anything like it. And of course, it was, okay, good, but can you juggle? No. But it showed me that was an extreme of that engineering mindset of I've got to solve the problem. I've got to work it out on paper. If I know if I can solve it, then I'm 3/4 of the way there to the situation being resolved. Which in this case, of course, it wasn't, because he still couldn't juggle. But mate, we spent 5 or 6 or more years being immersed in engineers. So the fact that you could communicate, and as you say, so many decision makers in technical organizations, of course, are made, the decisions are made by engineers. So you being able to communicate with them would have been a fantastic asset for Cisco, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Telstra became our biggest client.
Right.
And
Okay.
Telstra was my first sale. And you're absolutely right. That was selling to engineers. So Cisco were actually quite astute in choosing an engineer to head up. Well, I don't know whether it was how much of that was designed, but certainly it worked out pretty well. And I mean, it wasn't all. It wasn't. I mean, I had a fantastic team, and my business partner, I was based out of Melbourne, based out of Sydney. He did a fantastic job. I reported to him, and between the two of us, we built a fantastic operation.
How many people, when you were there, by the way, by the time you had left Cisco Australia, how many people? What were the staff growth from what to what?
Probably about 400, I guess, at that point. But there's a lot more now. Yeah, I don't know most of the people in Cisco these days. That old net. What tends to happen is the entrepreneurial people that get the company up and going. You know this. They tend to move on to other startups, and I moved into private consulting. But interesting point you raise about engineers and the logical thinking process. I have a philosophy, and I think it's been proven, it's starting to be proven out, that engineers actually make excellent marketers.
Interesting.
That didn't used to be the case. Now, why is that? Because in the digital world, marketing is all about analytics. It's all about measurement. It's more about measuring traffic, conversion, A and B testing, how different approaches work, and it's actually the creative side is important, but not as important as that analytical side. So I think it was the American Institute of Marketing. Their definition is that marketing is actually requirements engineering. It's designing a product that is fit for purpose, or designing a business that's fit for purpose. So what I say certainly to my engineering clients is, you think you're not very good marketers, but really your skills are well suited to designing a business that's fit for purpose. Yes, you can design a structure that's fit for purpose, or a machine, but you can also design a business that's fit for purpose, because the same principles apply. Now, of course, there's the introvert thing, which can be an issue. But people worry about being. I'm actually an introvert. It doesn't mean that people see past that. I believe people see past that. It's all about authenticity, as you know.
I would call you more of an ambivert. I think you can go either way because clearly the speed and the energy that comes down. This is the other thing, Zig Ziglar says selling is a transference of emotion and energy. A transference of confidence, transference of energy. And clearly your energy is, there's enthusiasm, there's excitement there. The raving introvert can be very, very reserved and, almost thinking about every word that comes out of their mouth, which is all very well, except when you're looking to get someone excited about your product or service or solution.
Yeah, it's hard to get people excited if you're worried, if you're thinking internally all the time.
That's right, that internal judging voice. Now, just on that, Aidan, what motivates Aidan Montague and why?
Okay, what motivates me? I guess what motivates me. I like to keep learning. I just love taking on new challenges, but the challenges have to be something that genuinely do excite me. I really do enjoy helping business owners, entrepreneurs to convert better. That sounds like it's a bit of jargon, but I see so many people are focused on we need to get more leads. We need to do a better job with our website, better job on our marketing. We're not getting enough of this, enough of that. But what I find is if the business isn't performing as we would like it to perform, it generally is because we're not converting the leads we've already got. And that's probably a more fundamental problem. And what drives me? Obviously, family. I've got two grown-up girls, and I've got a partner. I lost my wife many years ago, and I brought up my two girls from they were 4-year-old and 7-year-old, and now they've both graduated. And so family is very, very important. My partner and I, we love the girls, and that's our major focus. And I think really the other thing is, whilst I really enjoy the business side, the business has to support my lifestyle, not the other way around. So again, I like to design. I have quite a number of private clients. I try not to take on too many private clients, but the private clients that I do take on, I enjoy their company, and I work my schedule around the aspects of my life. I like to play golf, I like to spend time with the family. I'm actually not that disciplined. I get up early you're going to ask me what a day in the life looks like. Well, I get up very early, like about 4:00, 4:30, and I say to myself, I got to go in the gym because I've converted my garage into a gym. But invariably, I get stuck in my computer, and I think, and when I do that, I feel bad about it because I know that's not the best way to start the day. I really struggle to stick to my habits. I know what I need to do. I need to do more exercise, and I've set everything up so it's easy for me. But still, I hate to use the term workaholic, but I can't help but jump on there and see if someone responded to that email or whatever. And before you know it, you've gone down a rabbit hole and you're working to someone else's agenda. So that's what I struggle with.
Okay. All right. Well, straight away, you're talking about the book Atomic Habits, where he talks about it's a fantastic book where he talks about habits. And again, by the big mistake, as you say, going straight to the computer in the morning. There's a whole piece in where he talks about make it easy to do the things that you want to do, like everything from packing the bag to telling someone you're going to do it. There's a whole range of tools versus make it hard. Like, for example, if you were going to really make it hard, you'd go, I've got a lock on the computer that won't go, well, I can't unlock it till 6 a.m. or whatever the time is, But that's a great. The Atomic Habit book is very good in regard to, and discipline around. Obviously, the easiest thing is when you have other people you have to exercise with. Like in my case,
exactly.
I know there's going to be 5, 10, 20 or 30 people down there waiting for me. So that helps the positive vibe. But let's go a couple of steps now, talking about, you've said design a number of times. Let's share your website, because you came across you made a very good distinction before we went on air here when I said, let me talk about the website. And you said, well, you've got your website designer conversion, including this whole area of engineering design. Let's talk about that, the website, and then let's talk about the other page you spoke about. But let's talk about how long has this business been going and what's it all about, this designerconversion.com?
Okay, designer conversion has been in various forms, been going on probably 20 years, but I've gradually focused on this whole conversion thing as opposed to marketing. Why have I done that? Because differentiation. Someone who focuses on conversion, speeding up the sales cycles for complex products are generally pretty long, and again that gets back to positioning. So I help my clients to position the business so the sales cycles are shorter, etc. So that's what I focus on conversion. That's my thing. And that's the reason that I look at a website and I say, well, a website is not the best conversion tool. This one's not bad because it's got some calls to action on there. But if you scroll up, Leigh, you'll see navigation.
You mean up here, up to the top
here?
Yep.
Very top. You see navigation. Well, that's a killer for conversion. That's an absolute killer.
That's an important point you make right there, Aidan, because everybody does it.
Yeah, we all do it. We all do it. And we all need a website. Yes, you need a website. We need a website. But the most important page there is the About Us page, because people want to see, what do these people do? What do they do? Who are they? And within 30 seconds, you've either got them or you've lost them. So that's the drawback of a website. So that's my website for what it is.
And there's a lot. There's a lot there, as you say. Even there's calls to action. There's too much.
There's a lot there, and there's too much. It works okay, but really, what I like to do is when I send traffic somewhere or I'm promoting something, I like to promote a sales funnel as opposed to a website.
Which is this? Yeah.
Which is this is an example. Now, a funnel, that's also a website. That's also a website, but it has one simple purpose, and that is to convert a visitor to a prospect, to a lead. And there's one call to action there. Send me the free 7-day e-course. Now, this looks a very simple, very primitive page, and it is, but I have tested it, and this page converts better than anything else, this structure, than anything else that I've used. No video, just a very simple call to action. Now, a video on here might, that would work also, but just the simple web page with a headline, bullet points, some proof. Notice the logos there of people I've worked with.
Yes, social proof, yeah.
Some social proof. And of course, it's got to be authentic. It's got to scream at the target market. This one's specifically for engineers, as you can see. If you scroll to the top, there is no doubt this is about engineers, right?
Yeah, engineering marketing. You even named it.
Absolutely.
Created a little logo around it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now this exactly the same principles that I'm describing here would apply to anyone who sells complex products and services. It's not just for engineers, but when an engineer arrives at this, I know that engineer, there's a good chance they will convert. Whereas if I made it generic and I had lots of navigation, that would suppress conversion dramatically. So that's why I prefer to build specific sort of separate funnels. So if you like, at the core, you've got your main website, which is the hub. Then you've got these spokes, which are the funnels for various target markets. But I only focus on clients who have complex products. Now, why do I do that? Because that plays to my advantages. If I'm competing with someone with a marketing agency, for instance, who've got expertise in marketing, restaurants and or commodity products or local businesses or whatever, I have no advantage there. Whereas in this area, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to sell complex products to sophisticated decision makers. And engineers, people are scared to sell to engineers, or a lot are scared to sell to engineers. So that's what I focus on. This is an example. I have multiple different funnels. We also sell into the golf market, which is another area that I've got some inside running in. So we stick to our strengths. We build the funnels. We generate the lead. And the other thing that is really important, it's actually not so much the website or the funnel. The money is in the follow-up.
Oh, the money is in the follow-up. I'm making a note of that. It's almost a T-shirt. The money is in the follow-up.
The money is in the follow-up. A poor website or a poor funnel with excellent follow-up will absolutely beat hands down a fantastic looking website and no follow-up any day. The money is in the follow-up and the money is in the database.
Oh my goodness. The money's in the follow-up. Make a note of that, folks. The money is in the follow-up, money's in the database. So what does that look like, the follow-up and the database? How, I mean, I know you've got the whole special platform that you've told me about, yeah?
That's right. Well, the follow-up is you've got to follow up in as many touch points as possible. And this is your area, Leigh.
Points, yeah.
You know this, so you follow up with them wherever they are. Let them be on LinkedIn, either LinkedIn or, God forbid, they're in TikTok. Well, they may be on TikTok. I don't care where they are. Wherever they are, you have to be there.
Touch points, as you say.
Absolutely, as many different touch points as possible. But it's important when I say lots of follow up that you don't become a pain in the butt, right?
A pest.
A pest. That's a better word. If they object to your emails and they start to unsubscribe, it means that you're not providing value. So you have to, with your follow-up, you have to be respectful of obviously their time, and make sure that every communication is good communication. Make sure that it's value to the client or prospect, and that's all basic stuff. And the other thing is, the reason the follow-up is so important is when you first interact, that may not be the best time for them to do business. It may happen sort of 6 months, 12 months down the track. So you just have to keep that contact going, keep letting them know that you're there to help, keep delivering value, and then suddenly the moons align and you've got a client. Because conversion's tough. I mean, conversion. I mean, conversion, certainly digital online conversion is tough. So we got to have everything going for us. So that's some of my philosophy on that.
Brilliant. Now, what you're showing is the theory into practice. I mean, there's that whole, as you say, education-based marketing that only 3% or thereabouts of the marketplace are ready to buy today. So you're looking for needles in haystacks versus you get the database and you build long-term relationships and you're giving value and the touch points. And sometime over the next 1, 2, 3, 7, 10 years, they say, "Hey, I want to talk to you."
That's it.
But so you want to be top of mind. So look, and this is what you're doing, as you say, in a range of markets. And that point you make. And by the way, just as I move, of course, here it is. I've got the pop up so that you want to catch some information before I come off the page. What's that called when that happens?
That's a pop-up, and you got to use those sparingly because people don't like pop-ups. So you have to use it very, very sparingly. But the pop-up will always generate more leads than without a pop-up, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is that the more follow-up will generate more leads and more business than less follow-up. I mean, when I deal with engineering clients, they're scared to follow up. Oh, I'm going to, they don't want to hear from me. Well, the problem with a little bit of follow-up is if you leave it too long, then when they do eventually get an email from you, they've forgotten that they ever signed up for your stuff in the first place or asked for more information. So then they unsubscribe and they really do piss them off.
Yes. And this is where part of what you're doing, your funnel and your use of database and CRM and automated emails, I imagine, is whether it's coming down after day 3, 5, 7, or day 3 and 10, or whatever the frequency is. But it's automated touch points. And again, this is a whole area of expertise that people may have read about, or even try and do it themselves. But of course, I've learned over the years, people like to do business. Well, two things. They like to do business with people they like, but people like to do the things that they like to do. So if you're a bookkeeper, you find reasons to do figures. If you're a person that likes going out networking, you'll find reasons to go out networking when you should be doing the bookkeeping, and vice versa. So being able to delegate or engage someone like yourself who has the systems or can embed the systems in to automate all this is super, super critical, isn't it? I think anyway.
Yeah, I think so. And another little tip on that with email follow-up, if they don't if they're not getting value from your stuff, please encourage them to unsubscribe. Because what you don't want is bad delivery and spam complaints and all of that. So it's best to politely just say, listen, if this is not what you want, it's not valuable. I mean, let us know if we can do a better job. But if it's just not your thing, then please unsubscribe. Make it easy for them to unsubscribe.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
The other thing I like there, Aidan, on your website, in fact, I think you may have inspired me here, is this whole roadmap where you map out the journey for someone and let you say, well, this is the journey we're going to go on. And also to go, well, you can diagnose it yourself. How good am I at a solution thesis, or how good am I at a hook, or how good am I at overwhelming social proof? I mean, literally what I have done, and I'm still in the process right now of developing a website, which straight away you're telling me the website is all very well, but I'm going to go straight from website to funnel pretty quickly. But what I've done, and you've inspired me. This is not ready. These are still getting made, so it's not even ready. But
this is a good website, and this is good. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Well, you fired me up with this whole idea of PDC roadmap to essentially go, where are you on the journey from either startup right through to your vision being realized and exit point? Because what I'm doing is I'm between, putting a team of 40 or 50 people together, and you're one of them, to go, okay, where, and clearly you're in the sales and marketing area, the lead generation side of things, yet at the same time it'll be automating of some of the marketing systems. But I have people, everyone from accountants and bookkeepers and people involved in artificial intelligence, right through to people who can prepare a business for sale and then sell it, let alone, let's take people away on retreats, let's set up incentive systems, performance management systems. So I've got people who can do all of these things. So what I want to happen, and I think, again, you and I can talk about this, is I want PDC to be the first point of call. It's like a CEO sitting in, or an MD going, shit, I know the business can do better, but where the bloody hell do I start?
Exactly.
So the first place to start is call us and let's do a diagnostic, and we can then focus on, and then let's go on the journey over the next 5, 10, 15 years to where you get that business to a point where you can either sell it or exit it or go public, and we can help you on all of those things. So essentially, I'm not sure if the word should ever be one-stop shop, but essentially it's like going, get PDC on your team, because you're going to get the best people in town, in the marketplace, to help you no matter where you are on the journey. So I'm going to thank you for the roadmap idea there somewhere, because clearly that chunk is an important part of the sales and marketing chunk there.
Yeah, well, that it certainly helps me a lot, the roadmap approach with in talking to clients. It's very easy to home in on the area that, and the client can almost always diagnose, well, no, that's not true. Sometimes we think the bottleneck is one area and the bottleneck's actually somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah, and that can lead us down, the wrong path. And the other thing I'd say is it's super critical to identify the bottleneck and focus on the bottleneck first, rather than try and improve everything, because it's very easy to look at the business and say, oh, we need to improve this and that, whatever. But the only improvement that delivers results to the bottom line is efforts that we put in and activities to remove the bottleneck. Then the bottleneck will move. So on this roadmap, there will be a bottleneck.
Yes.
And that is where we put our focus.
Yes.
And this gets back to the theory of constraints, which is Eli Goldratt. You remember the book The Goal, which I've released a lot of later books, but I really pay a lot of attention to this whole bottleneck approach. And he had an interesting quote. I think it was him, or maybe one of his disciples, who said, if we are not focused on the bottleneck and we are doing things that are outside of the bottleneck, we are pissing in the wind and feeling good about it.
Yeah, mate, yeah. And that's what happens. We sometimes say, weeing in your wetsuit, or showering with a raincoat on. You're feeling nice and warm and cozy, but it's actually doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I think it's so important to have external brains come in on organizations because whether it be the complete journey or whether it be the sales and marketing journey, we've heard of industrial myopia, but people get myopic to their own business.
Exactly.
And myopic to their own thinking. It's a bit like Maslow saying, if the only tool you have is a hammer, a lot of things start looking like nails.
Yes.
And so that's again why with PDC I wanted to have a multidisciplinary approach to go, let's have a bit like golf. You don't just want to have a 7-iron in the bag. You want to be able to use the wood, the 9-iron, the 3-iron. You want to be able to use as many irons and woods as possible, because then you've got flexibility and you've got choice. Whereas you just got the 7-iron, the game, you're certainly restricted. And I think sometimes people are playing with 1 or 2 irons instead of playing with a full bag. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely. You need all the tools, but you also need to stick to the fundamentals. Because golf's a good analogy for business in many ways, in that it's tough. It's really hard to master. But if you master the fundamentals, it becomes a lot easier. And there are fundamentals in everything, because the principles never change. The tactics change, and we see all these different platforms. We see, all these different social media platforms. But at the end of the day, they're just media. That's all. That's all. And social media is not marketing. I get back to it. Marketing is requirements engineering. True marketing is positioning a business or a product to convert prospects into customers. That's true marketing. Then we use the media to amplify the message. So those are the fundamentals that we all tend to forget.
Yeah.
We need to get more. This is the other thing that my pet hate. We need to get more content out there. Yeah, content marketing works, but only if it's the right content. And where's the return on investment if we're just pumping out garbage that doesn't really amplify our positioning? Whereas less is more quality content that amplifies the positioning, reinforces the value to the customer, to the prospect, and always focused on the customer. I see a lot of businesses, they're pumping out content on LinkedIn, but it's all about them. It's how great we are, and we've done this, and we won this award, and we did this. The client doesn't care about what the client cares about. Can you solve my problem? That's all. So, and this. I mean, this is your world.
No, but it's so important. In fact, and as you're talking, I'm going, boy, there's a great 60-second grab we can just put as a piece of content just there. So people don't. This is another thing I'll do is with a lot of these interviews. There's so much gold, but not necessarily everybody sits through and listens until an hour. But I'm going to break them up into 60-second and 2-minute chunks, because there's so much gold in what you're talking about there, Aidan. Beautiful.
Okay. No, I didn't sell it. We had a team doing that.
No, but you got in the door.
I had a great product.
Yeah.
So that going for me.
But it's a great example, by the way, as you say, of 3 years of touch point,
Absolutely.
3 years of building relationships. And the other thing you've just talked about there is a champion within the organization.
Exactly.
An internal champion, an advocate. So, and that of course takes time to build up that, and them to build trust, because they're risking their own career capital on you and Cisco. And the same, and the other point is knowing that the first sale is not the be all and end all. It's actually the lifetime relationship. We teach this, the R factor. We talk about the relationship factor and the lifetime value of customers. And that's just a beautiful example of, in your case, resilience, hanging in there, building the relationship, internal advocate, and then how that then the account, which we in our work we call it the purple zone. The purple zone is the account management, repeat business, and referral zone. Purple, it's purple because we're on a purple patch. You want in many ways more business coming in from the purple patch than you do from the front end in terms of the marketing. And if you can have both going, that's just beautiful. So mate, you want to say something there? I can hear you.
Yeah, we were focused very much on making sure the person who made that decision, that they looked good, that we really solved the problem, made them look good within Telstra. And I had a very, very good account manager working for me who was able to build a relationship with that person. So really between the two of us, we were able to get that initial purchase order. And then it was all about Telstra's success, because Telstra wouldn't have bought more if we weren't doing a good job for them.
No, of course.
And we actually, I think in Cisco, we actually probably cared about the results that we were getting for the client, perhaps it's sometimes more than the client. We were just super focused on getting a good value, delivering good value, because we knew they were going to spend more.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? Once you've got 100 staff or 200 staff or 300 staff or even 50 staff, that attitude and that belief system and that value is so important that it's coming out of the managing director or the chief exec's head, but that intention then needs to filter through the organization, and whether it be in team meetings, whether it be in conversations, whether it be in publications, whether it be in who you promote, whether it be in how you go about correcting people's behavior and giving them feedback. All of these things go into, we call it the ecosystem, the oneness ecosystem, that we're all on the same page, vibrating the same vibration. So as you've said that to me, I can feel it emanating from your body, and obviously you still do it today.
Yes.
But you want it in person number 100, 200, and 300, and 500 as well. What are some of the tips or secrets that you guys used in Cisco, or that you've seen in other places, that help perpetuate and permeate those customer-focused values?
Yeah, well, we had a good culture in Cisco. That was one thing. We had good leadership, and I'm sure Cisco today has got good leadership. But John Chambers, who became the chairman of Cisco, was a fantastic people person. And what was interesting, even though Cisco was the world's largest company at this point, John Chambers would provide his personal telephone number to the CEO, the senior person in the client organization. Now, Chambers knew that it would be very unusual for that person to call, but the client knew that they had the option to call, which is a very smart thing that he did, because had he started to get lots of calls, obviously it wouldn't have been scalable. But when he did get a call from a client, he took it really seriously, and all the way down the business, this has to be fixed. Whatever we have to do to fix this problem. And the clients knew that, and they knew that he was sincere. So we learned. So that was leadership. That was something that he engendered in the organization, and the clients loved it.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, as you say, that one act of giving the number, and as you say, being completely genuine about it, but that one act, that one piece of behavior also then set the tone for the rest of the organization. So to a certain extent, the local MD or CEO of the country, the last thing he or she would want is the client ringing John Chambers.
Exactly.
Like, no, let me give you my number. Please ring me. Please ring me first. So, mate, what a beautiful story, mate. Let me ask you a couple other questions. You said you love learning. What books are you reading at the moment? What are the books you've got beside your bed or at your desk, or that you're either listening to or reading at the moment?
Okay, I tend to read the same stuff over and over again. One of my major mentors, a guy called Richard Koch, Koch.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Richard or not, but
is that the 80-20 principle, or the
80-20?
Time,
80-20, and also the STAR principle, which is it gets back to the old Boston consulting, be a market leader in a fast-growing market. Richard Koch wrote a book called The Star Principle. I mean, it's I don't know, it must be 10, 15 years old now, but I still apply that daily. That old Boston consulting matrix is very simple, and it's a bit politically incorrect, but it's a great way to identify, particularly with a startup. Are we in a fast-growing market? Do we have a realistic chance of being the market leader? Not just locally, but really, do we have a realistic chance? Because if we don't, then it is likely that we will run out of money.
Yeah.
And the evidence, I mean, most startups fail. 90% of startups fail. And they normally say, well, we ran out of money. That's the reason they fail. Well, why did you run out of money? You ran out of money because you weren't positioned properly, because the product wasn't selling, you weren't converting enough, so you got to get back to the root cause.
Yeah, brilliant. And just on that, over the years, think of one or two mentors that made a significant difference to your life, as in people you worked with or you knew about, or give me an example of one or two mentors and what they taught you or said to you, because often they're significant conversations that you remember. But
the major mentor, I've spent a lot of time in the US, and I've spent a lot of time with what they would call the digital marketing gurus.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of them. They absolutely focus on digital marketing. But the one who taught all of them is a man called Dan Kennedy.
Yes.
Who I mean, you would have heard of Dan Kennedy.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure Dan would be the first to admit he's a grumpy old bugger. He's still alive. He's a grumpy old bugger, and he taught the digital marketers, the best in the business, everything. They would not exist had it not been for Dan Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then in more recent years, you've got the Russell Brunson sales funnels, and Jeff Walker with his product launch formula, Frank Kern. There are a number of people who are well known in the internet, in the digital marketing world, who are not well known in general. Well, I've spent a lot of time with those guys, some of them personally, but not Dan Kennedy, because Dan Kennedy is so grumpy that to visit him, you got to get in a plane and fly to the middle of nowhere, and he deliberately sets it up that way. But his philosophies, which are direct response marketing, that is those are the foundation of digital marketing. Yes. And the other mentor whom I never met either was or didn't meet is Eli Goldratt, the Theory of Constraints. Okay. Which is this is all about bottlenecks and focus on the constraint. And the book that I read is actually not by Eli Goldratt, it's one of his disciples. It's called The Logical Thinking Process. And it's quite a formidable book. And I must admit, I have not read the whole book. I just read the first 2 or 3 chapters, and I would read those chapters probably 2-3 times a year, because that it talks about designing a business, how to design a business, how to map the business out before we spend any money on marketing, how to design the business and how to identify where the bottleneck is and map it all out. And so that's the and of course the 80-20 principle, all of Richard Koch's stuff, Boston Consulting.
Mate, brilliant, mate. That is so fantastic. I mean, as you're talking about golf, there's two books that years ago I did a lot of work with Dimmicks, and I used to sit when I had to wait for the chief exec. He was on the phone or something. I'd go to the business or personal development section of the bookshop, and books that jump out besides the E-Myth, there was one called The Inner Game of Golf.
Yes.
And one of the rules are performance equal. I use it with sporting teams. I use it in organizations. Performance equals potential minus interference. With 100 units of potential, but 60 units of interference, clearly we can only do 40. Take the same 100 units of potential and then reduce it to say 30 or 40 units, you can double performance. And so you're talking about, as I say, bottlenecks, interference. It's the very first thing I'm looking for in an organization when we do the diagnostic is where do the people see the impeding factors are? As you say, where are the bottlenecks? Exactly. And sometimes we say the chief exec or the business owner needs to take a good look in the mirror, because there's a reasonable chance they are the bottleneck, that their thinking is the bottleneck. Exactly. We can't do that because we've never done that because, so we want to, which again, from a model point of view, we say we want to look at both organizational development in terms of systems and structures and processes, but also personal development, where the person is willing to turn the eyeballs inwards and look at how they think, how they approach a day, how they look after themselves, all of these things. The inner game, which we call about the inner game of golf, the inner game of business, the inner game of sales, the inner game of entrepreneurship, the inner game of leadership. So, mate, there's so many great things you've talked about. Solving a critical problem in the growing market. The money is in the follow-up. No fear. The major growth markets. Yes, so engineer to engineering. Quality content is it touch points. All of these things. Aidan, is there anything I haven't asked you? Because I know we could talk for days on this, but is there anything I haven't asked you think we should cover off on before we move into the home straight?
Probably just one last thing that I should just explain a little more. This whole thing on constraints. I think it was a guy called Rich Chevron, who's another one of these digital internet gurus, and he probably got it from Jay Abram. I'm not sure, but basically what he says is that the success of the business is determined by its constraints, not by the ability of the people, not by how hard we work, not by the effort. Not it is the constraints determine the success, how we handle the constraints, because everything else is just potential. But the potential can't be released unless we obliterate those constraints one at a time. And the constraints, and the faster we obliterate the constraints, the faster we achieve success. And not only that, if we have a constraint, we need to steal resources from other areas, even though the other areas will complain, to get rid of that constraint. To all hands on deck, let's fix this constraint. And then we'll fix it. And yeah, we'll move on to your department or the next. But until we fix this, we're just talking about potential.
Yeah.
But the constraint's what unlocks it's only at the constraint where the profits flow to the bottom line.
Right. That is beautiful. And as you were saying that, you were reminding me of Ray Dalio, the hedge fund manager, saying, be very conscious of your weaknesses, which is like, be very conscious of your constraints. Because as you say, if you're living in blue sky land and we can do this, we can do that. Yeah, but if we're actually, every time you go, it's like pouring water into a bucket, but the bucket has a whole pile of holes in it. Until you plug up those holes, until you deal with those constraints, you're wasting a whole lot of energy and resources and precious time, let alone, mate, that is absolute gold that you've talked about there, Aidan. So let me just go back and show people how they can get in contact with you. One, through the designer conversion website, which you say is in fact the website, but at the same designerconversion.com. But at the same time, if they're engineers, then engineering marketing.
And through LinkedIn, just hit me up on LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn's
probably, yeah, you'll find me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a message. I think my phone number is even on there. So the other thing is, I don't mind putting my phone number on my website. People want to, I'm happy to have a chat, as you know, Leigh. So,
good. An Irish chat. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to help people, even if we never end up doing business, because it's fun. It's good to help people and. Yeah.
Well, I think, look, it comes back. I think we've talked about purpose, about the importance of having a good reason to wake up each morning. It's when life without purpose. And I say to people, I feel like at times a happy old uncle when I've helped somebody and they say, Leigh, we just made a sale this afternoon as a result, or we've just changed, or the team are now getting on so much better. The business is sailing along with way less friction than it was 2 or 3 months ago. Inside, in my head, I go, you know what? I'd almost do this for nothing, but that would be silly. One, if you're doing it for nothing, you can't eat, and two, there's a value exchange. So there needs to be a value exchange coming back the other way. And as you say, ROI, being able to demonstrate both quantitative ROI. We've saved time, we've made money, we've made more sales. But qualitative, as in the customer has a better experience, the client's enjoying their work more, the team are working better. It's a beautiful thing. Aidan, on my notes here, it's a question without notice, but what is the future? Tell me about the future for Aidan Montague and your business. Tell what does the future look like? What's next for you?
Okay, well, what I'm focused on currently is helping more clients as opposed to a small number of private clients, which require a lot of personal exertion. I mean, I love doing it, but there's a limit to how that will scale. So I'm trying to take a lot of the information that we've discussed and put it online, put it on my website. And I mean, I should be doing podcasts. I don't. I should be. I can learn this from you, Leigh. Also, I need to provide more tools that utilize the principles that I have that we've discussed. So it's all about freeing up more of my time, delivering the information in digital form. People consume in different ways, can be audio, written, video, whatever, but I need to get this information into my own platform, which is it's not my own platform, it's white labeled. And I'm putting my information on there, building sales funnel templates on that, and then making that available to my clients so they can either do it themselves or with my help, or with your team, Leigh, I mean, we could all come together and help if the information is all there in digital format so people can consume it, they don't need this face to face. Although some face to face is important.
Absolutely,
but not scalable.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons, Aidan, I'm looking forward to working with you in regard to PDC. There's what we've talked about today, you bring to the table, but I'm sure from a tech point of view, how we can help scale PDC and the whole, 47 different expertises that we bring to the table. And as you say, probably somewhere in PDC, there'll be some kind of production house to do just what you're saying. Each of the consultants need to package and get their information out there. And again, I think we can do it via the platform you're talking about also. Sure. So I think there's all sorts of possibilities that we can do together so that we bring even more value to the marketplace, no matter where people are on the complete business journey or where they are on the sales and marketing journey. Aidan, thank you so much, mate. I've got pages of notes here, touch points, sales team management, all of these great things you talk, building relationships, the value of proper sales training that you talked about, that, it helped you focus on what you were doing well. And at the same time, boy, there were things you weren't doing to take your whole sales game to the next level. So, mate, that's the joy that we get. Aidan, thank you so much for your time, folks. You want to touch base, you know how to touch base with Aidan. And Aidan, I'll see you again very soon.
Thanks, Leigh. It was great to be here, and thanks for having me.
Pleasure, mate. See you next time. Okay. See you soon.
Great. Bye.